This model establishes as a fundamental objective to facilitate the construction of the ethical sense of life understood as the development of community conscience. Intrapersonal and interpersonal conscience and lays its philosophical basis on the ethics of the ancestral cultures Abya-Yala, ancestral America, and Ubuntu, Sub-Saharan Africa, applied mainly in the Guidance for Life in Community line. Its ontological and sociological bases are derived from the theory of human-scale development by the Chilean economist Manfred Max-Neef. The main psychological bases are derived from the interpretations of Winnicot's biopsychosocial concept of transitionality, and his pedagogical bases from the basic Socratic mayeutics applied in the Pedagogical Project. Synapse, basis of the line of counseling and guidance for academic life. Based on several reflections by Julio González, Venezuela, 2011, main founder of Relapro, presented in various academic spaces. International Counseling and Guidance Conference in Costa Rica, 2015, and Origin of the journal, Orientación. About the need to create our own models of counseling and guidance, an epistemological vision from the Global South, contributed by colleagues from Uruguay among others. The analysis of results of 11 Latin American counseling and guidance surveys in which counselors from almost all Latin American countries that develop the field from different perspectives. Psychological, pedagogical, sociological. The papers presented to the Counseling and Guidance Conference. Approaches, Models, and Strategies of Counseling and Guidance in Latin America, Buenos Aires, 2017. The contributions of the base document for counseling and guidance in Mexico, 1993, and Towards a Latin American Model of Educational Counseling and Guidance. Master. José Nava Ortiz. Cultural elements taken from ancestral philosophies such as the African philosophy, Ubuntu, Max Sefotho, South Africa, and the Amerindian cultures of Abya-Yala, well-living. Correlated with contemporary models of social development, capitalism and socialism. This model of educational counseling and guidance is built looking to respond to the social and educational needs of Latin America from the perspective of development on a human scale, Max-Neef. 1993, which does not ignore the epistemological origins of the field, Parsons, 1903. Nor does it exclude European or other thinkers who are considered pertinent to the transitional counseling and guidance for the ethical sense of life model. The question then arises as one of the axes of research is constructed about the role and meaning that educational guidance needs to build in the 21st century. Taking into account these macrosocial factors mentioned. Max Sefotho contributes with the concepts of counseling and guidance for life that facilitates conceptually centering all the dispersed actions of the field and later contributes with elements of the Ubuntu philosophy. I am because I belong, I am in community. This base category, counseling and guidance for life, would later be subdivided in this model into counseling and guidance for community life. Changing the emphasis in the psychologist approach on individual factors, introspective, self-schemes, self-esteem, self-image, self-realization, and intrapersonal, aptitudes and emotions, that have been traditionally assumed as the primary aspect of the educational counseling and guidance. Due to the emphasis on the socio-community approach in accordance with the ancestral philosophies mentioned, Ubuntu and Abya-Yala. This base category, counseling and guidance for life, would later be subdivided in this model into counseling and guidance for community life. Changing the emphasis in the psychologist approach on individual factors, introspective, self-schemes, self-esteem, self-image, self-realization, and intrapersonal, aptitudes and emotions, that have been traditionally assumed as the primary aspect of the educational counseling and guidance. Due to the emphasis on the socio-community approach in accordance with the ancestral philosophies mentioned, Ubuntu and Abya-Yala. In the category, guidance for academic, work life, we include the topics of vocational, professional and socio-occupational counseling and guidance, as well as the transversal academic counseling and guidance designed for the qualification of transversal communication skills to the academic and work world, Synapse project. Counseling and guidance for interpersonal life, in this third category, will be included for its part without diminishing the importance of individual factors. The development of topics such as worldviews and emotions from the concept of attitudinal consciousness. However, in the search to transcend the mechanistic instrumentality typical of the field, we have proposed to philosophically base our work, delving into the fundamental concept of our model, life.
There are two ways to live life. One is to think nothing is a miracle, and the other is to think everything is a miracle. Albert Einstein.
We chose in this model to assume it from the human action, as a transcendental and sublimable phenomenon.
Life is the transitional space by excellence, made of multiple areas of social learning which can be conceptually constructed as a transcendental phenomenon sublimable with an ethical meaning.
Regarding ethical reflection, we take from the ancestral Amerindian philosophy of the Abya-Yala principles of social coexistence, in accordance with high moral performances summarized as: do not lie, do not steal and do not be idle, which are of vital importance both in the daily circumstances of interpersonal relationships, and in work situations mediated by professional ethics. Evidenced in honesty in professional commercial relationships with the community that have an impact equally at the state and global level.
In a complementary way, we assimilate in this model the concept proposed by Maturana with respect to his definition of ethics as concern for the consequence that human actions have on others, associated with the acceptance of the other, included in the category of love, defined as the recognition of the other as a legitimate subject for coexistence.
With the purpose of clarifying the relationships between morals and ethics. We turn to Sefotho's reflections when he affirms that morality is the set of behaviors and norms that people and with similar thoughts generally accept as valid, while ethics defines it as the reflection on the validation criteria that we use and the comparison with other moral ones. We anchor this topic in this model in the concept of social conscience.
On the other hand, paraphrasing Edal Cortina from the definition of ethics by Maturana and Sabater on the supracategory of development on a human scale, we agree with the proposition that at the global level it is every time more evident the need for a universal concern for others, which guides economic, technological, and political processes, with criteria validated with others in the sense of authentic progress.
Another principle related to life, which we consider fundamental in this model, is this one which aims to propose intentionality and directionality for the life trajectories that can be undertaken.
Life can only be understood by looking back, but it has to be lived looking forward.
The Sankofa bird is not stuck in the past, as it keeps moving forward while looking back to take stock of the egg in its beak, which denotes the future. The construction of meaning of life implies accepting that the construction of meaning is produced through the transitional processes that are being experienced both in social life and in academic life.
Applying the principle of transitionality to education, we established that the most propitious moments to carry out counseling and guidance processes with humanly transcendental effects may be the transitional space between educational cycles, since the community is more sensitive to receiving information and training directed to qualify these processes.
On the other hand, with respect to the epistemological conceptualization of social life, we take as a basis the theory of human needs of the Chilean Manfred Max-Neef, who states that life is structured based on existential universals needs or dimensions, being, to have plus to do plus to be, interrelated with the axiological evaluative needs, subsistence, protection, affection, understanding, identity, participation, creation, recreation, functionally differentiated from an infinity of satisfactory products of consumer society in which the people live. You have to give meaning to life, for the very fact that it does not have it.
The meaning of life is not discovered, it is socially constructed. The fundamental objective of the Transitional Counseling and Guidance consists of pedagogically advising human development in educational communities based on the existential construction of meaning.
existential negotiation. Constructing meaning involves a process of existential negotiation between duty to be social and wanting to be personal to reach the power of being. Seeking to fulfill all human needs.
Between to do what you want and to do what is due, there is the alternative of to do what you can. The need is of the order of power and production.
The realization of the axiological existential needs must be developed in a synergistic way, optimizing the limited vital resources of people for the construction of a long-term life project.
Faced with the question, where is it necessary to be, belong, or to mobilize to fulfill the axiological needs and build a sense of life, we propose the following postulate.
Life trajectories can be self-determined from broad characterizations of the potentialities and opportunities offered by base communities. Based on the realization of the axiological existential needs in the short and medium term.
Based on the ethical, efficient, and effective administration of community resources that guarantee sustainability, the appropriate development of personal potentialities, and the relevant academic work tests, life projects can be established that incorporate aesthetic, functional principles of human ecology related to social responsibility.
Although it seems obvious that potential economic resources are necessary to develop life projects, it is considered even more of a priority to develop personal human potentialities and exhaustively explore the institutional opportunities of the base communities before establishing budgets on the construction of life projects and/or the tracing of specific trajectories.
In summary, we propose the meaning of life can be built from the three existential dimensions proposed by Max-Neef: to have plus to do plus to be, based on the ethical, aesthetic, self-determined, synergistic, and sustainable realization of the axiological existential human needs, based on the construction of solidary, ecologically sustainable life projects, and with social responsibility, in the search to be aware of the importance of the community that sustains us, to fully develop the personal academic labor, potentialities translate as aptitudinal awareness, and to have interpersonal awareness that evidence the recognition of the incidence of personal worldviews in all areas of social life.